Hello everyone and welcome back for another round of my F2 2019 season. So the race at the French Grand Prix is at Paul Ricard, so I generally have fond memories of this place, but I do know that the AI are said to be very good around here in this game, but hopefully we can close the championship gap to Nicholas Latifi. We are currently in second, and hopefully we don't come under any pressure from Sede Camera behind. But both of those damn cars are very, very quick, and I also hope that my teammate Hubert, this is his home round, so hopefully he can have a good one, and we can close up to the lead in the constructors as well.
Okay, here we are, qualifying, 20 drivers, 30 minutes. There's going to be a lot to see here.
Alright, so here we are for practice, and straight away you can see qualifying, and straight away you can see that there is heavy rain all throughout. This session will be on the wet tyres most likely, but we'll see. And looking at I'm an idiot, they only have wet tyres, there's no intermediates in Formula 2. Looking at that weather indicator there at the 20-minute mark is extreme rain. It is very, very heavy rain.
Take it easy to start with, the track's wet.
And if that actually eventuates during a race, they will actually bring out the safety car for a few laps until the heaviest of the rain passes. So in your qualifying session though, you can actually still drive out at race pace, or qualifying pace, or even in those conditions. So what I'm doing now is actually a bit of a comparison of just what it looks like. You can see this is the normal heavy rain conditions, and obviously there's the standard like wet track puddles, and I have to say Paul Ricard looks horrible in the rain. Not to say that Codemasters have done it badly, it's just all the coloured stripes and stuff, they just sort of lose their colour, everything just sort of looks a bit grey, and yeah, it does not look appealing at all. Whereas arguably, I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the stripes, but at least they're colourful. But in the rain, it doesn't look like much at all. So anyway, pay attention to this as we come onto the straight, and straight away you can see that sign that goes over the track at the end of the straight. So the visibility is definitely worse than in clear conditions, but it's not terrible. And we will see in just a moment as we go to the extreme rain conditions. We will see just how much worse the conditions are.
Track is wet right now. Feel your way around the conditions before you start pushing the car.
And the reason that came up again is because I restarted the session because I wanted to do a comparison on fresh tyres of lap times, and I did this a few times, and in general I felt like it was slower in the extreme conditions, but it was by a few seconds. But if you actually, I don't know, it was hard to get a good lap in, and when I did get a good lap in on both, they were about the same, but on average it seemed a bit slower, so that could just be my inconsistency. But you can see straight away, you can tell the visibility is much worse in the extreme rain conditions, and in a moment we'll see just how bad it is on the main straight. But listen to it's very, very slippery surface, but I don't remember hearing all the sort of tyre skating in the rain quite as much in just the heavy rain conditions. So maybe it is slipperier, but yeah, it is a very difficult conditions either way. And have a look now as we come onto the straight. There is nothing. It looks like we're driving towards the end of the world as we're trying to get some temperature into these tyres. There's the sign. We had to get about halfway to it maybe, or maybe even further, just to even see it. So the visibility is absolutely dreadful in these extreme conditions. But yeah, that's the difference. Back to heavy rain, just to have another comparison, and you can just see yeah, how much different it is coming along that straight. So yeah, there's the comparison if you're curious how much worse the rain looked. So in a race, there's no wonder that they bring out the safety car for the extreme weather conditions. But anyway, we have started our qualifying lap through the first little chicane now, and we get through there fairly well. Getting the lap 100% accurate is not the priority at this point in the rain. The priority is just to get through the lap without having any offs or spins or anything, and that should more or less see us through to a decent grid position with the speed that we have. So let's see what we can do through to the end of the first sector. A little bit wide there, so that'll cost some time, and you can't make too many mistakes because there's actually a car right behind me and looking to cause some issues, much like Hulkenberg did in Canada. But thankfully he does not go for a review. The arrow is actually red, but we turned into the corner, and I don't think we made contact. At least I didn't feel anything. So I think we got away with that one, and he's backed out of it now. We're about to find out how bad or good this lap is in comparison to what everyone else has managed in these conditions, through no DRS and towards the finish line. And where are we? Position 9, not bad. I was expecting worse.
As we wind down from the excitement of qualifying, here's a look at your top three. De Vries, Latifi and Sergio Sette Camara. Goodbye for now then, but we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
Thank you, Alex. So, P9 and Hubert P10. So, side by side start for both of us there. Ralph Boschung had a decent run up in P8. Let's get into the race.
We're here at Le Castellet, and it looks to be a thrilling event ahead of us. The drivers are making their final preparations, and in a very short time, we'll be starting today's race. Today's drivers need to master the 15 corners of Paul Ricard, 6 left-handers and 9 right, spaced around the 3.6-mile circuit. The longest section is the famous Mistral Straight, which is split into 2 by the colourful chicane Nord, which offers a potential overtaking hotspot. But the drivers there need to take care. Those brightly coloured stripes don't offer much grip and won't be kind to tyres. In the commentary box for the big race today, I'm Alex Jakes, and joining me once again, it's Davide Valsecchi. Davide, as well as being the 2012 GP2 champion, you also have experience as a test driver in F1. What would you say are the biggest differences for people fresh to the world of F2?
Well, Alex, I think it's an exciting time in Formula 2 right now. For spectators, a lot of excitement comes from all the drivers being in the same car. That puts the emphasis on driver skills, meaning lots of overtakes, which means exciting race for us.
Here is the grid for today's race, which will be starting shortly. Nick De Vries starts from pole position, with Nicholas Latifi alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sette Camara, Boccolacci, Jordan King, and Galeo, Joe, Boschung, Calderon, Antoine Hubert, Giotto, Matsushita, Jack Aitken, and Delatraz, Correa, Alesi, Mazepin, and Mahavir Raghun, Ilott, and Mick Schumacher rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Okay, the run into turn 1 isn't too long, so the pack will be bunched up. Take care.
So I did notice Boccolacci starting up in 4th place, and Mick Schumacher all the way down in 20th. So a couple of mixed up cars on the grid will make it very interesting later in the race. But it'll be the harder tyre to the softer tyre in this race. No reason to try anything contrary in this one. So let's just get into it. Actually, I had a look just to see what the difference was, and it was, well, literally nothing. So we're just going to go hard to soft and see if the hard tyres will last until that bit of rain there at the end. But we'll see, I don't know. Normally actually they start on the soft tyres in Formula 2, so it is a bit weird to see that standard strategy is to start on the hards. But I had a look at what everyone else was on, and everyone else is on the hards as well. But anyway, that is just a bit of an anomaly for this one. Maybe they're all trying to get to the rain period towards the end of the race. We'll see how it plays out.
Launch map is good, but we need to learn the gears, so go into each one when you can. We're going to need some work on the brakes, so put some energy into them and warm the tyres as well, please.
We will need to make sure these tyres are right up to temperature to make sure we get off the line. Being the harder compounds, it could be a bit of a difficult start, but like I said, everyone, or more or less everyone, is starting on the harder compound. So we'll all be warming up our tyres, ready to start this race, the feature race here in France. I love that shot of all the cars warming up their tyres. It looks really cool. So as we come around the final corner at the end of the formation lap, we do that. Okay, good job. Not sure what's going on there, but anyway, Boschung takes his place on the grid. So do we.
No threat of rain for the time being. Conditions looking good.
The rain won't be
Keep
around.
an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid has formed. Be ready with the clutch.
The rain won't be around for a while, but now we go to 5 red lights. Lights are out and we are underway for the feature race here in France. There's a lot of wheel spin from Guan Yu Zhou there, but he actually gets a decent start, so does Boschung. And we are slightly getting swamped here. Hubert's around the outside as well. And look at the dive from Aitken down the inside of everyone there. And that is a really aggressive move from Aitken, but he's gained an uncountable number of spots there. Here's an onboard from Jordan King, and he makes a nice move up into 3rd place at the start. But we'll get another replay of the start, hopefully. I didn't get an onboard from Aitken's car, unfortunately. But here's the replay of the start. Nice getaway from Nick de Vries. And he went unchallenged into the first corner. But it was all going off behind. You can see Aitken just there at the end of that shot, just getting down the inside of a whole bunch of cars. But here is my rival right behind de Vries, trying to make a move towards the next little group of corners, and he's around the outside to the inside, but de Vries is just holding on. He might get him back through here. They're side by side through the whole end of the first sector, and it looks like de Vries will get through, but as they come into shot there, they're still side by side, and Latifi manages to squeeze him out and take the lead. Latifi into the lead of the feature race here in France, my championship rival. And it's all kicking off behind. There are cars going absolutely everywhere. But back on board with myself, we've got Antoine Hubert up ahead. We send it around the outside of the penultimate corner. And can we make the move? Not quite. I didn't want to be too aggressive making moves on my teammate there. And we managed to get back onto the racing line. Here's the onboard from Giotto. And he did a very good job just here to not run into the back of us as we came back onto the racing line very aggressively there. But that was good effort from him not to cause a collision there. But we go down the inside of Hubert as he locks up into the first corner, but he gets us back straight away into the second one. So it's proving very difficult to overtake in this race so far, and I'm going to have to wait for DRS potentially to do anything in this race. I'm just going to have to sit behind and try to conserve the tyres, maybe until that time. But let's see if we can get a good run onto the straight. But we actually wait until the high-speed right-hander. We get a really nice run through there, and we get past Hubert on the exit. Here's an onboard from Hubert who gets a really nice switchback through the long radius right-hander, and he actually gets us back, but we're still up on the outside. But we pull out of that, so a really good switchback move from Hubert there, and he retakes the position from me. But he makes a big mistake into the few corners at the end of the first sector, and we get back through. I really need to learn some corner names. We actually made a little bit of contact with him on the onboard shot there, but got away with that. I don't think either of us got any damage from that, but we need to be careful with racing our teammates. But next up is Sean Galale, and we get a nice run through the third sector and get past him. Next up is Jack Aitken, who made the mega dive into the first corner. Here's the onboard from Galeo, and we absolutely sent it. He tried to switch it back the way Hubert did, but he couldn't quite get there, and he had to sit behind. Meanwhile, we are catching up to Jack Aitken. Can we make a move? We go down the inside, he locks up, everyone's locking up, and we couldn't quite get that move done on Aitken as he was locking up. But he's obviously under pressure, as with a lot of the other cards in front. So can we make a move into the chicane with the DRS? We weren't close enough. So through the high-speed right-hander, if we get a good run, we might be able to make the same move that we made on Hubert and Galeo. And we do get a nice run using all the track width on the inside, down the inside of Aitken, who's defending a little bit weirdly there. He leaves us some space, so we're going to take it, and we get that move done on Aitken just about. Very awkward getting through there side by side. I wasn't really sure where he was going. He was taking a very unusual line, and so was I. To be fair, we got that move, but he's still there on the left-hand side. But we shut that door, run deep into the corner though, and he's going to come back on the outside, but we're going to be able to use all the track here and get ahead of him as we lose the rear end.
Camera has just put up the fastest lap of the race so far.
As the race leading cars are getting away from us a bit. So the next car up ahead for us is Guan Yu Zhou, and he's defending quite heavily into the first corner. So we're going to maybe try to go for a move around the outside. That'll be a bit aggressive to do that. So we just slot in behind, try to get a good run through to the next series of corners. We may have actually bumped him a little bit there, and we lost our momentum behind him and couldn't quite make a move there. So it's going to have to wait until later on, potentially, as we run through the next series of corners. We're trying to set up a good exit onto the main straight, trying to get as far to the right as possible here, get a nice flowing run onto the straight. That works for us quite well actually, and we've already got a run before the DRS. DRS open. Joe's got DRS as well though. He's moving over to the left to defend all the way, so we're going to have to go back to the outside, round the outside, as Boccolacci and Boschum are battling away up ahead. But we get the move done on Guan Yu Zhou, and here's a replay round the outside, and Joe didn't make that too hard in the next phase of the corner, as we may have actually had a little bit of contact there, as we make a move around the outside of Boccolacci and Boschum. Boschum locking up, and we just avoid contact there. There's a bit of contact just through that last phase there, wheel to wheel. It shouldn't affect either of us too much, but they were both defending to the inside and had a compromised line. I just took the racing line around the outside, and that worked quite well for me there. So some actually relatively easy positions, albeit a double overtake, but that was yeah, a bit of a freebie, as Nick de Vries now locks up. So everyone's struggling with lockups in this race, as especially in that chicane. So anyway, let's see if we can make a move on de Vries. We've actually got a nice bit of slipstream here, and we've got the momentum. We're going to go to the inside of the high-speed right-hander, and we have to back out of it. But we get the move done anyway. But
Nice work, that brings you up a place.
there was no way we were going to take that flat while trying to overtake de Vries. and we get a nice run through the penultimate corner down the inside of Jordan King, and we give him a significant hit, but we get the move done nonetheless. Here's the onboard from Jordan King, and we're definitely far enough down the inside, and he just turned in really. There was nothing more I could have done there, as Anton Hubert retires from his home race, so no help in the constructors there, and he will not be winning his home race the way he did in real life, so that's a shame for him. But anyway, that is what you get. Sometimes doesn't always go your way, but it's time to pit, so in we come, and we will be fitting the soft tires, and yeah, the hards did not last long enough to get to the rain period, so soft tires on, and away we go out of pit lane. And I noticed that the Dams team actually pit set a camera in this race.
Strategy complete. See these tires through to the end now.
They did not pit Latifi on this lap, so that was interesting to see. We are going to get an undercut on Latifi, and the undercuts in Formula 2 are absolutely massive, I've discovered. So we'll still be behind set a camera, as you can see, but if we get through the traffic cleanly, we will get a massive undercut on Nicholas Latifi, and we might even jump him, who knows. So let's see, we've already got...
We're expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes.
We've already got a run on the car ahead, so let's see if we can make a move on Matsushita into the chicane. We're a long way back, but we're going to have a pile of grip in hand. He defends, so we go to the outside, and we get that move done very easily, while cars are battling away up ahead, costing each other time. Hopefully they don't cost me any time. Now through the high-speed right-hander, can we do anything? We go through a move around the outside, and we almost get squeezed off the road there by Schumacher, but that's not Schumacher, that's Galao, you donkey. But anyway, we get past Galao, and now battling away with Giotto into the penultimate corner, but he has to back out of it to make his pit stop, so we don't lose too much time there. So out of the final corner now, we're going to find out if we jump Latifi. There's a whole bunch of cars in pit lane, and there's Latifi on the list, and we are ahead of him. As we have a look, Sede Camera has marched away. He had a lot less traffic to deal with than I do, but we have overtaken Nicholas Latifi with the undercut, and he is our championship rival.
Expect to see some rain about 10 to 15 minutes from now.
At this point, so
we're expecting some rain soon. Expect the first drops in the next few minutes. Radar suggests some weather is going to hit in around 5 minutes time, so stay on your toes. Okay, be careful on those slicks. These conditions are making the line a bit greasy, but we're still nowhere near the changeover point.
So, as you just heard, with that series of radio messages, it is just starting to rain now. It was coming for a while. There wasn't really anything else to show during all of that time, but the rain is here, and the track is getting wetter and wetter.
You're sat in P2, okay? The gap behind is 29.6 seconds. Look after these tyres now. We want to finish the race on this compound. Just 3 laps to go now. 3 laps.
And yes, with 3 laps to go in this race, I've been tailing Sede Camera for quite a while now, and I could not get past. I've been trying. I caught up to him very quickly, but I think these tyres have died off. So as close as I get, I just cannot make an overtake, especially as the track's been getting wetter. You can see a few attempts here, but in all cases I had to abandon the attempt. Just there you had to see I had to cut the corner and slow down to avoid running into him. So I'm actually going to make a pit stop here
coming at the end of this lap.
onto the intermediate tyres. It's a little bit early, but if the other cars do, I will have the advantage in the closing stages. There's only 2 laps left, but if the rain comes down any harder, I don't want to be on slicks, as the pit stop takes an absolute eternity as always.
Release.
6.2 seconds, so not too bad, but we will see what we can do. But the reason I can actually get away with this strategy is, look in the top left, we are still in second. We have nothing to lose by doing this. As we spin the wheels on exit. Like Latifi, I don't know what has been going on, but he has dropped the ball, so to speak, in the later stages of this race. He's absolutely nowhere. We were the better part of 30 seconds ahead, or we have to have been,
You're in the top 10.
to make a pit stop and still be ahead. But as you can see, coming out of pit straight away, a lot of understeer, so definitely too early for the intermediate or wet tyres as they are in Formula 2. There's no intermediate ones, but it's not far off, so hopefully throughout the rest of this lap we can just hold on to these tyres. Hopefully we don't overheat them too much, and by the time we get to the end of the race they should be in good shape. But here is Sergio Sedicamera starting the final lap. He is not making a pit stop onto the inters. He's finishing the race on the slicks. But as we are now on the final lap through the chicane, we are a long way behind Sedicamera, and there is no way we are going to catch up to him. But again, like I said, it was worth a try, and the track now is definitely wet enough for intermediate tyres. We'll get an indication in a moment.
Gap to car in front is 25.8 seconds. They're on old softs. Their tyres are 10 laps old. The time
Shush. So 25 seconds ahead, so yeah, we have gained massively on Sedicamera as we run a little bit wide there, trying to get the absolute most. I'm not sure we're going to gain 25 seconds in a sector, but here is Sedicamera crossing line to win the feature race here in France. Good driving in the later stages in the rain on the slick tyres as we finish the race in style, a 360 out of the final corner, and celebrate a pretty decent drive from 9th place up to 2nd.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
A great win then for the Dams team today. And Davide Valsecchi, give me your thoughts. How did they accomplish this result?
I think this race was won thanks to the tire management. You have to remember, it's not just about going as fast as you can. It's about consistency. It's about maintaining your speed over an entire race distance. So being able to keep the lap time competitive while still respecting the tires, that's where they won today.
Dams, another team with a huge amount of history, based right in the heart of motorsport near Le Mans in France, have once again shown their formidable abilities out on the track with yet another win today. And now, let's take a look at the driver's standings. The lead at the top has come down after a poor result for our points leader. And so, driver of the day then, Davide Valsecchi, who do you think you'd go for?
Carlo Magno, for me, he made the difference. He was just the best driver of the day, overall.
And now a look at the team standings. Dams move further ahead at the top of the standings. Meanwhile, good work from Campos this weekend, who pushed themselves further up the order. Goodbye for now then. But we really are just getting started. Make sure you join us again for Lights Out tomorrow.
So that was a pretty interesting race. We've actually dropped down to 3rd in the championship thanks to Sedicamera's race win there. But the gap to Latifi has come down. So it's really turning into a great battle between myself and the two Dams drivers. And hopefully in the next round Hubert can come back into it a bit, because he's lost a lot of points this weekend so far, and he will presumably lose more in the next one. Very difficult to start from the back and make it into the points in a sprint race, especially with no pit stops. But we got the fastest lap points there, so that's going to limit the damage to Sedicamera slightly, but the next race we need to beat both of those Dams drivers. They are very, very, very quick in the recent times. But looking at the race finishing order, Jordan King, a long way down after fighting for the lead near the start, so that's interesting. On to race 2.
And we're back. After yesterday's feature race, the top 8 drivers have been reversed on the grid, setting up some exciting action as we launch into today's event, the sprint race. As we await the start of another hugely anticipated Formula 2 race, I'm joined again by Davide Valsecchi. Davide, as a former GP2 champion, can we get some insight to what is running through these young drivers' heads as they sit out on the grid?
Ciao Alex, it's a pleasure to be here. There are nervy moments, there is no doubts about that. Mental strength is the key to remaining calm and focusing on the upcoming race. Formula 2 is so competitive and all of these drivers knows that they are going to be pushing each other all of the way. In this sport, you have to be able to control your nerves.
You should have some space going into the first corner, so try to keep it tidy.
Alright, thanks Jeff. Let's get race 2 underway. The sprint race, no pit stops.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
And no time for an intro. Let's get on with it this time. 5 red lights. And away we go for the sprint race. That was holding for an eternity there. But we finally get underway. And it is a brilliant start from Nicholas Latifi up there. Already taking 1 or 2 spots. And it's another big dive from Aitken into the first corner. And making up spots at the start of the race once again for Jack Aitken. But for us, we've been shuffled down the order into P10, and Callum Ilott has actually made his way up into 9th place, so really nice effort from him in the first race to make up a lot of positions, and he might be fighting for some points in this race if he keeps the pace up. So let's see if we can spoil the party a little bit, see if we can re-overtake him to the inside and down the inside, big dive into the chicane, and we get that move done on Callum Ilott. Next up is Sergio Sette Camera. So can we make the same move on him that we made on Jordan King in the last race? We go to the outside and just didn't quite feel confident enough to send it down the inside there. Wasn't quite as close and as far around as I was when I overtook Jordan King there. So now on to lap 3, DRS is now enabled, and we need to try to overtake these Dams cars ahead of us before they can overtake too many of the other slower cars in between me and the leaders. So we get past Sette Camera actually fairly easily there down the inside into turn 3, I think, and we get that move done. So next up is Jack Aitken. So let's see what we can do. We've actually lost a lot of time to him in our little battle there with Sette Camera, but hopefully we can challenge him maybe into this sweeping right hand corner in the 3rd sector down the inside, and we passed him in a very similar way to what we did in the feature race, but he comes back at us on the right hand side, but we leave the space there for him, and he's unable to make full use of it, and we get through. Here's the replay as Galail and Giotto are battling away for the lead up there, but that was a nice move there on Aitken. But now we are down the inside of Joe, and we get that done. Next up is the championship leader himself, Nicholas Latifi. We beat him in the last race, so let's see if we can beat him again. That was very close there to the back of Joe, but we were able to sweep past him, and we actually both ran into that corner very deep. But anyway, focusing back on the battle up ahead, Boccolacci and Latifi, Boschung up ahead are all battling away there, and costing each other time. I was trying to get a run on Latifi through there, but I couldn't quite get the line just right through the first corner. And Boccolacci and Latifi offline there to the inside, but no move to be made, as I think one of them had a bit of a lock-up. Boschum is actually sticking to his lines better than all of them, but still seems to be holding up the queue a bit, so he's obviously lacking some pace in this race, but he's actually up in a podium position at this point, as we're watching Sean Galao and Luca Giotto battling away for the race lead. Galao putting a lot of pressure on, but Boschum locks up there into the side of Boccolacci, and I think Boccolacci might just be able to squeeze through here on the right hand side and take third place in this race as we go back to our POV. And Latifi is looking as well, seeing if he can take advantage of this. Boccolacci through on the right hand side, there he goes, and Boschum gets back in line as we try to make a move to the outside of Latifi. That was never going to work, but there was a bit of a window there briefly, but we couldn't do anything there. So we now focus on another opportunity down the outside of Latifi into what I assume is turn 3. Turn 4 now on the inside and around the outside, and we should be able to get this done, but he's actually still there, and we give him a big squeeze to the inside there, give him a nice tight line through that corner, and we get it done up into now P5. Next up is Boschum, and we go down the inside into the chicane, and we get that done fairly easily on Boschum. Next up is Dorian Boccolacci, the home favourite, if you like, French driver, and we've got to run into that same section of track. So let's go to the outside, down the outside of Boccolacci into the chicane, and he actually cut the corner there and almost ran into us, but as we went around the outside there, we got the move done. And
good job, nice overtake.
Hopefully now we can get away from him, as Antoine Hubert is in a pile of traffic in this race, and he is having a lot of trouble making any moves at this point. I think he's still down in 19th or 20th at this point, but we run a bit wide through the flat out right-hander, and Boccolacci is still on the right hand side there, and where is he? There he is on the inside, so they're side by side, and Boccolacci actually gets back through there as we now look for another opportunity through the first couple of corners. We get a really nice run through turn 2, and we go to the outside and towards this next little chicane. We should be able to make the move around the outside to the inside, and we get the move done there. But he's still on the right hand side, so we have to leave him a little bit of space, but not too much, and we get the move done through that tight right hand corner at the end of the first sector. So the leaders are a long way ahead, so we might need a safety car for any chance of catching them. And as I say that, Guan Yu Zhou retires, and we do have...
Speed, our delta is too low and we risk a penalty. Slow your pace immediately.
We do have that safety car that I just mentioned, so that is unbelievable luck. We lost so much time battling away with a lot of the cars there, but we have a safety car in this race now, so we are now right behind Sean Galao and Luca Giotto as the safety car now accelerates away from the field after a few laps. Giotto has to set the pace, so as we come out of the final corner, let's see what we can do.
The track is clear. Green flag.
It's a really good restart from Galao, actually. He's a long way ahead of me, but I didn't think mine was particularly bad. He's fairly close to Giotto, so that was, I don't know, maybe a bad restart for me, I'm not sure. But Galao is piling the pressure on to Luca Giotto, who is holding up very well, but we've got a lot of understeer because my tyres are not up to temperature. They're sliding around all over the place and just not gripping the way I want them to. So that's cost me a pile of time at the start of this phase of the race. I considered making a pit stop, but that would leave way too many overtakes to do in a short time in this race, and there's just not enough time left to make 20 overtakes work. So we move on. We've caught up to Galale eventually after our tyres come up to temperature. We go down the inside into this long right-hander in the third sector, and we get the move done there, and we are now one position away from the race lead. But Galeo's going to come back at us into the chicane, and the battle is not over until it's over. And Galeo gets back ahead briefly, but we send it round the outside, cut him off at the apex of the corner, very aggressively sweeping across the track there to make sure he couldn't stay on the inside. So we now move on to the final lap of the race.
This is your final lap of the race.
Thanks, Jeff. I just said that. And we are right behind Luca Giotto, and I feel like we just have a slight pace advantage, but it's not too much. So it might need to be an aggressive move if we try to pass him. So we just need to try to set up the move, maybe into the chicane with the DRS. Let's see what we can do through these next few corners. They are very tricky to follow another car through here, so let's see if we can get a nice run onto the straight. We get through there okay, but Giotto gets a really good exit there, and we're just not going to be close enough by the time we get to the chicane. We've got the DRS, and we'll sit in the slipstream, see what we can do. But we're gaining, but I don't think it'll be enough. We're going to go for a dive anyway, and we closed the gap a bit, but that was just never going to work. We missed the apex anyway, and Giotto himself was very deep on the brakes there. So let's see if we can make a move through the high-speed right-hander as we've done in the past. We have a lot of momentum through there, so we go to the inside, but again we just didn't have enough presence on the inside. We backed out of it, and there's really only one opportunity left, and that's if we make this dive into the last corner, just like we are, and we make more contact with the car on the final corner. It's a drag race to the finish, but we've got the traction, and we're going to cross the line in first.
Yes, you've done it. Well done.
That was a last-minute overtake if I ever saw one.
Well, what a drive that was to take the win for Arden today. And I have to wonder, Davide Valsecchi, just what set them apart from the competition here.
The safety car had a huge impact on the race today, that's for sure. A lot of racers begin panicking when it's brought into a race, as it means important decisions need to be made in a very short space of time. Should you pit? Well, that depends. What truck is it? How are the tires holding up? What is my current position? A race can be won or lost after the introduction of a safety car. Make it good thinking, key to the victory here today.
And it's time now for the podium celebrations. And how well deserved is this one? This is a team all about giving talented young drivers an opportunity to race and to win. Arden are your winners here today.
Thank you. So, what an exciting little end to the race that was, and that was quite a satisfying move on Giotto there at the end to take the race win. Giotto P2, and a really nice drive from Galeo to hold on to P3 ahead of Latifi. But here's the replay on board with Giotto's car looking back, and it was just like the move we made on King. He just turned in, did not know we were there at all, but we'd made the
After this round
corner.
of the World Championship, here's how things look in the driver's tape. The gap at the top of the championship has been cut down after a difficult race for our championship leader. Now then, Davide Valsecchi, who would you say was your driver of the day?
I go for Tatiana Calderon. She was so fast today. She really impressed me.
And here's how things are shaping up in the team's championship. It was a tough race for our championship leaders, who lose ground at the top of the table. Meanwhile, Prema have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way to the top. Well, what a weekend that has been. Please join us next time for another thrilling installment when Formula 2 returns.
So, I don't know, maybe that's my new favourite corner of Paul Ricard, that last corner, a good overtaking spot if you've got the momentum there. So I'll have to remember that next time I go there in Formula 1 to see if it works the same way. But two really strong drives, and we have closed the gap to Nicholas Latifi in the championship in this weekend, and we may just be able to take the lead next time out in Austria, one of my favourite tracks. So that will be very interesting to see if we can take the lead there, but I'm going to be turning up the difficulty for that round because it's my favourite track. I want it to be, I guess, as much of a challenge as possible. So anyway, thank you very much everyone for watching this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. How do you turn this thing off?